My father-in-law constantly accused me of being a gold digger, so I showed his true colors to everyone and collapsed his empire. My father-in-law James was someone who saw me as nothing but a gold-digging parasite infecting his precious bloodline. James wasn't just wealthy, he owned several charity organizations and was invited to meetings where they'd make plans for the entire city. And from day one, he made it clear I wasn't worthy of breathing the same air as his son. It started small. At our engagement dinner, he accidentally introduced me as his son's latest girlfriend. When I corrected him, he laughed. "Oh right, fiancé, let's see if this one lasts." My husband squeezed my hand under the table but said nothing. That should have been my first warning. After the wedding, things kept escalating. James would show up unannounced and enter the house without so much as ringing the doorbell. He'd run his finger along surfaces, check for dust, and then look at me with disgust. In my day, wives knew how to keep a home clean. When I started my marketing firm, I did it with my own money that I had been saving up for an entire decade. But James told all my investors and customers that I was smooching off his son's money. Thanks to his words, my business never made it out of the infancy stage, and I was heartbroken when it collapsed. The worst was how he reacted when I got pregnant for the first time. At least she's starting to produce heirs for him, but I'm disappointed that my son chose her. She doesn't deserve our bloodline. My husband just stared at the floor when he heard this, and before I could say anything, James laughed and moved on to another topic. I went home and cried that day, because hearing him constantly berate me was just too much to handle alone. But the breaking point came at husband's birthday dinner. I had gone out to get some fresh air, and when I came back, I found out that James had locked the door. He smiled at me through the window and then pulled back the curtains so no one could see me outside. I didn't have my phone, so I was just stuck there. I contemplated knocking on a window, but that's exactly what James wanted, me looking desperate and asking for help. Everyone celebrated inside for the next 15 minutes until my husband finally noticed I was gone and opened the door. That's the day I decided enough was enough. If James wanted to get rid of me so badly, then I'll just get rid of him instead. I knew James's weakness was his reputation, so I spent weeks digging into his charity's finances, and what I found made my stomach turn. Only 10% of donations actually reached families in need, and the rest went to administrative costs, aka his yacht, his mistress's condo, and luxury trips. I documented everything with receipts, bank transfers, and emails where he mocked the suckers who donated. Then 3 weeks later, I organized a surprise appreciation gala for James's 30 years of charitable service. I invited everyone, including the city council, major donors, and then I also invited the victims of his scam. James arrived glowing, ready for worship. During his introduction was when I took the stage and started a wonderful tribute video on the screen behind me. Before we honor James, let's review his incredible work. Everyone expected the video to show James's amazing contributions, which is why they were shocked when instead of a tribute video, financial documents started showing on the screen. I showed how he diverted charity funds and how families who asked for help were thrown out of their homes and silenced. I even showed screenshots of his emails calling donors bleeding heart idiots. The room exploded. James rushed the stage, screaming I was nothing but a lying gold digger. He grabbed my wrist hard enough to bruise, but security pulled him back at the last second. "You little bitch! You'll regret this! I'll make sure your life turns into a living hell!" James was dragged off to a holding cell and placed under investigation by the authorities. James kept trying to make noise, trying to claim that the proof was fake and he was being framed. But it was too late since his bank records had already been pulled by those investigating him. His assets were frozen, and most of his property was seized by the IRS. His big friends and donors renounced his name in public and pulled back their support. 2 months later, James was sentenced to 12 years for fraud and conspiracy charges. He actually sent me threats from the prison, claiming he would destroy me when he got out. But my husband finally grew a pair and got a restraining order against him before cutting him off from our lives. He's still in prison the last time I checked, and I've restarted my marketing firm. Because I exposed him. My credit shot through the roof and his investors became mine. But I guess that's just karma.